Welcome to Storyboarder Toolbox. Today I'm going to show you some sketching techniques of how I'm usually starting to sketch a storyboard, and then I am going to show you a storyboard from sketches to the finished film, so you can see the process. And that's it. And I'm going to start. Yeah. Usually what I do is that I have a sketchbook with me when I go to a meeting. So I usually just take visual notes and also scribble down some text if I need to. But usually what I need to just understand the message from the director, because usually I go in a meeting, then that's usually with a director who wants to convey the idea to me. So it's important for me to follow the conversation and not to be too far ahead or too far after, so that I can follow the meeting and the development of the briefing from the director. So it's important to be very quick, and it's okay if it's only you who understand the sketches, because it's just a visual memory for you, to a visual note to take with you to your office. And you also usually have like a script or a synopsis or some written idea of the story, because usually there's a advertising agency involved, and they usually have some materials they want to convey also to get the idea, and then the director's job is to make something out of that brief they have from the agency, and then they give a brief to me, and from then I just have to yeah, to follow the lead, so to say. And so this is usually what I do. I take a visual note, and it might be like this, very crude. And this is actually from my sketchbook. It's I think it's the original was like 20% of this size, so it was really small. I just blew it up so you can see. And then I sketch either with a pencil or I do it in software like Photoshop, and I use the same technique if I do it analog or digital. I just imagine that I put out, it's like a building a form. So there's a lot of blue sketches, just like a gray pencil, and I'm not really afraid to make mistakes, because it's just I'm just starting to sculpt something. And then I clean the lines, and if this was an illustration, you would probably add on more pencils over, but since it's a sketch and you have to do one sketch in every 20 minutes or so, then you have to find a quick way to do it. So this is my way of doing it. And then I just erase the pencils, or in Photoshop I just turn off that layer and I add some grain tones. So that's basically it. It's the same technique I usually do in all kind of sketches. So it's important to note that this is like a sketch. It's not like a illustration. So sometimes when you're really quick and you don't have time to correct something, you only have like 20-30 minutes for each drawing or each sketch, then of course sometimes the perspective might be a little bit off, or the proportions of the body anatomy might be a little bit off. But the important thing in a storyboard sketch, first and foremost, is that it's you can call it a shooting board, meaning that it's possible to shoot the way you see it. So the composition is very important, and how that image relate to the next image, because it's a storyboard, it's not a comic book. Yes, and this is another sketch, very similar, but you can see this is more like a sketch for a scene, a key image, if you want, if like. So you find one image that you want to convey in a story, and you make a lot of sketches and to explore. So this is just a way for me to find a way to explore the idea of that scene. And out from that, I choose one, and if I ever have a lot of time, I can also put in some perspective lines. Here I have a template, so it's a little bit yeah, it's a quick way to do it, but you can see that I use on the grid I have there just like a help, so I can sketch directly over it, and I can clean it, and then I just take away all the helping guidelines and just add the gray tones. Yeah. So yeah, so it's the same technique, just a little bit more complex illustration or sketch. Yeah. I have this. next analog. So it's the old style. So yeah, we've seen the sketching techniques. So let's move to Act 2. And here I have my storyboards for a commercial for for sorting the trash correctly, which is a thing in Norway. You put organic dispose in one kind of bag, and you put let's say paper and things like that in another one, so it's sorted correctly for for the next process for the garbage system here in Norway. And this guy who was going to direct this one is the same who did What Does the Fox Say, the song that came out a couple of years ago, the director of that music video, Ole Martin Hafsmo. And I had a meeting, and we needed to do this really quickly. So this is a style I do sometimes when I make 9 frames on one paper, and when I do it that way, it's very easy to see the progression, and also it's a very more quicker way of making a storyboard. So I use less time when I do it this way. If I do digital, it doesn't really matter, but when I do it the analog way, it actually takes a lot less time. And he needed the boards very quickly, so we did it this way. And it starts with a kitchen. As you can see on top, there's a girl and a father in the kitchen, and he's taking up the trash in the under the sink. And the girl is paying notice. You can see there's a tilt up, meaning that the camera is just tilting a little bit up. And you can see I have number 2 is the frame, and I have A and B, that meaning it's starting tilting at A and it ending up to tilt at B. So it's just we end up with a focus on her face, and then we see the father passing by her, and there's a track, meaning that the camera is moving sideways. And then we go to frame 4, and we can just see that the cup has just been set down, so the spoon is falling backwards, so you can see a movement even if she's not in the frame. And then on frame 5, we see the father is moving into the hall. It's also important to know that when we did this board, we didn't know anything about the location. We didn't know how it was going to be shooted at all. So this is just some guesswork here. So I can't remember exactly now. We're going to see it later, but I think the angle is a little bit different. And then frame 6, she's running into the room, throwing off her sweatshirt, and on frame 7, she's picking up a bag. And you see I use a lot of arrows, so the camera is tracking in, so you get this intense focus on the bag. And we see the other arrow showing that she's coming in, grabbing up the bag and taking it up, so it's a lot of action. And on 8, the track is sideways, so the camera is moving sideways, following the girl running, and she's putting on a glove. And on 9, we see that she's putting on a glove on the other hand. And that's page 1. On page 2, we see the father on the way. It's closing in outer, I don't know what you call it. I call it outer hall, and you see the stairs are starting there, so he's starting walking down. And then we have a cut, and we see the first frame we also see a track, so the camera is following him walking, so it's having the same pace as him. And on the second frame we see a top shot, so we see down the stairs, and it's a track. So we're starting with the focus on the father walking down, and then we're tracking up, revealing that the girl is running in, and now she has a cape on. And on frame 3, we see a close of the leg on the floor. So we see we see some details, but we don't see her yet. So there's a track also following her action and her speed, her pace. And on frame 4, she's jumping out of it's a shaft of some kind. I think it was a ventilation shaft or something. That was the original idea from the director. And then she's flipping around and right up to frame 6, where she put on a mask. And then we see a profile with a close-up of her on the frame 7, where she watches down outside in the where the father is walking. And on 8, she's standing on like a Batman or a hero pose, watching the father. So he's just following on the movement he has in frame 7. And on frame 9, we see him at the disposal trash can, and he's opened up the lid. And on the next one, we can see he goes out of. So it's the same 9, and the next is the same, but it's just being. So we shift. There's a focus shift. So he is sharp, and then the background is unsharp, and then they change the focus so that the sharpness is in the background, so we can see the girl in sharp coming down. And then it's a cut to 2A, which is the girl landing, and 2B, there's a track into the B, and that's a more focused, a closer on her. And on 3, we see a track in the father to make it, and the reason we use the track is to make it more intense on him. And then on 4, it's a reaction shot of what he's looking at, and that's the girl up in frame. As you can see, her head is coming up and in frame. And on 5, she put her arms up, and she has some kind of a gadget gun or something on the arm. And she put all the hand down on a trigger. And on frame 6, we can see some arrows shooting into the trash bag of the father. On 7, we can see that it drags out some garbage. I think actually they changed some of the details, but we're gonna see that later. And then she catches, because it's the gadget shoots out some arrows with wires, and then she pulls them back again and catches some of the trash that she got catched in the arrow, and she catches them in her hands. So so it's like a Batman gadget. On 9, we see A is close from the father, and then the camera tracks out till we see her running into the frame. And on the next one, we see a top view. So it's a shot on top, and we can see it's like a bird eyes view. We see the girl running around him with the wire, and she's what you call it, binding him or packing him in the wire. And on frame 2, we see some close-up, and the close-up here is we're going to see the foot is running on the wall, because she have a really high speed, so we're going to exaggerate that and see that she hits the wall sometimes. And 3, we see on top again, and we see she shoots up. And on 4, we see the legs of the father is being lifted up, and on 5, we see that she pulls him up and he hangs in the air. And on 6, he is looking very confused and surprised, because he never seen his daughter this way. And she makes some signs with her fingers that that she is watching him, and then she turns around and runs, and the father is hanging there, and you see the logo. So yeah, yes, and that's it. Hope you managed to follow me, but now you can see the film, so you can see how it turned out. So let's see film.
Den tom?
Hey, scumbag. What's in the bag?
Hæ?
Carton and plastic in the same bag.
Hvem er du?
Stay after me, you little piece of shit. I will never mix the trash again.
Kristine?
Say it!
I will never mix the trash! I will never mix the trash!
I'll be watching you.
Norwegian advertisement. Yeah. Yes, so that was that for this time, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you like my channel, you can subscribe, or you can also put click on the notice button, so you when there's a new video, you get a notice. So thank you so much for following me, and seeing you next time. Bye.